Whew. Happy Easter. I got my cross earrings on today, and this live almost did not happen. I've been away from the house chauffeuring my parents from place to place and visiting family for Easter, and it's been great. But of course it's late, and I was like, I promised myself, I promised my crew that I would continue to go live no matter what's going on in the rest of the house, because people are still up and bumping around and doing all kinds of stuff. But I wanted to talk today. It's the fourth day. I feel better. I still have a little bit of headache, but like I can raise my arm and it not hurt so bad from the vaccination. So that's good. But this morning I got up and I listened to a sermon. It was an Easter sermon from last year, and it really was great. It really spoke to me and motivated me. And I made some other notes. Some people said, good night. Yeah, it's pretty late. But this will be recorded, and some of you will be catching the replay. But I've been talking about fear all month of April. And wow, I just had a thought, like, talk about fear. What if somebody told you that your mission in order to help people was to die? Like, in order for people to have life, or you have to die. That's kind of crazy, right? Like, you have to physically die. Not metaphorically, which is what we have to do, is we die to ourselves in order to lead a life of Christ. But imagine having to physically die for people who don't give a shit about you, really. To be honest, I know I'm cussing on Easter Sunday, but that takes things to a whole different level. Talk about the fear of having to go through that, the fear, like having fear. And Jesus said, God, if there's any other way, take this cup from me. Take this from me. But obviously there was no other way. How else would we have what we have today in Christ? So anyway, I digress a bit. But I'm going to end up talking about the fear of disappointment, right? But I wanted to say this. I had a couple notes that I wrote down. It's so important to be well, to be healthy, mind, body, and spirit. And some people say mind, body, and soul, but mind, body, and spirit. And I think about that. Why do we always put spirit last? You know, like there's a lot of things that we could do better in our lives. But there's a lot of things that are taboo that people don't talk about. Like people don't talk about politics. You know, people don't talk about relationships sometimes. And people often don't talk about like their spirit to their friends, right? Like we talk about everything else. We talk sports, we talk training, we talk work, we talk family drama, but a lot of times we don't get the spirit part unless we grew up in church or go to church. And then it's like you don't want to seem weird to talk to your friends about their soul or spirit, because it's like, oh, now it's uncomfortable. You know, now you're judging me, or now I'm worried that if I don't feel the same way you feel, then you're not going to be my friend. You know, like there's some fear of things there. So I wrote that down. I think that spirit, like, why wouldn't our spirit be number one, right? If, it's something that it's something that is so important to our salvation, our future, how we go through this life, and we put it last. Let's say you're somebody that thinks of those three things as equal: mind, body, and spirit. Then we spend so much time in the body doing, and we spend time in the mind thinking, but we don't spend time nurturing the spirit side of us, right? Like, you really had to sit down and mark out, like, your day-to-day activities, or let's say your weekly activities. We usually just reserve an hour or two to prayer, maybe 5 minutes to meditation or something, if that, right? If you have even thought about diving into what that is and what that can do for you. But yeah, we're out of whack. So it's not a surprise that when 2020 hit and there was all this unrest, social injustices, people getting sick everywhere, and doctors freaking out, going, what the heck is this? How do we cure people? All of these things are happening around us, and we are not balanced, mind, body, and spirit, right? Like, we were used to getting out into the gyms, and we freaked out when they closed those. And then mentally, I'll say this too. A lot of us don't get counseling or don't talk to therapists or anything like that. We figure you have to be crazy or going through something super traumatic to even think about talking to a therapist. But yet, so somehow we're expected to figure out all the mess that we went through, the grieving, the sickness, the unrest, the unknown, the loss of jobs, the loss of businesses, the loss of family members, the loss of our regular daily routines and activities. We're expected to get through this, but yet we're not balanced, mind, body, and spirit. Of course, being a fitness trainer, I'm always like, what do you mean you don't work out? What do you mean you don't have a workout regimen, right? Like, of course, everybody's like, yeah, I know I should work out. Yeah, I know I should eat healthy. That's all dealing with the body. But what about the mind? When you go through something traumatic, you cry a day or two, and then you just say, suck it up, buttercup, and put on your cape, and, get your kids to school, get to work, get to this and that, the other. Meanwhile, in the back of your head, you're thinking, my boss just completely disrespected me because I was a woman. Or my husband just completely, lost this person in his life, and he didn't shed a tear. Or, you have people around you going through different things too, and you have to navigate those things left and right. The loss of being able to travel, right? Like that, our reprieve has been to be able to go and visit family and friends, to go sit in a restaurant comfortably. But now we have all these different things. Now, yeah, we're starting to get back to normal. And if you live in Georgia, we never really closed. But to navigate all those things, you have to have some clarity, mind, body, and spirit. But for some reason, we're quick to dismiss the spirit part. And I say the spirit needs to be number one because, and I wrote this down, I'm so glad I have my notes because it's late and I'm tired. But the reason is because that's where your confidence comes from. Do you ever think about that? Like, do you ever think about where your true innate confidence comes from? It comes from within, and it comes from God. God gave you that. But, of course, there's so many things that derail that confidence. There are so many unknowns in life, and there are things like what's going to happen to us, and what happens to us. Like, for me, an injury, right? You know, hey, Stephanie. Hey, Ham. For me, it's been an injury or injuries, right? Like, I didn't know I was going to get injured. So you have to push through it, you know. How we will develop in life, you know. We go from one job to the next and we pick up different skills. Like, we don't know that in advance. So how do we have confidence that we can even do these things or get through these injuries? Our confidence comes from God. Yes, you may have grown up with excellent parents and people that push you and do things, but um, we have the world that does the exact opposite, right? The world tells you you can't do this, or you have to be this X, Y, and Z to get this position. And we all know that's not true. We all know that there are different opportunities that come to us, different miracles that happen in front of us to other people. I'll say this: God is a constant. Miracles, signs, and wonders happen all the time. You know, people write books about it, people make movies about it. Like, you know, I wasn't supposed to live this long. The doctor said this, that, and the other, but I proved them wrong. I had an injury, and the doctor said I wasn't going to ever walk again. I wasn't ever going to swim again. I wasn't ever going to, you know, all of this stuff. But time and time again, we as people tend to prove those things wrong. And that's God. That is all God working in us to do a good thing. Why do we ignore these things, though? Why do we just sweep, you know, miraculous things under the rug? Why do we feel like the spirit world, right? Ooh, that's spooky. Why do we feel that the spirit world is so foreign to us? It's mind-boggling to me, because we know that babies don't just easily come out of nowhere. If that was the case, then we would not need, you know, fertility clinics. We would not need doctors that specialize on how to have babies, you know, because people would just be popping them out left or right whenever they want to. But reality is, you know, babies are miracles. God ordains us to be here, right? In his timing, you know, that husband and wife will get pregnant with that baby. You know, it's not, you know, it's not just by happenstance. I for one know that, you know, if God can do it for somebody else, anything, if God can make this person walk, if God can make, you know, he can do it for me, he can do it for you. Wait, he has. When I think about it, I think about like some down and out points that I've had in my life and how did I get through them, right? I can easily think of, you know, bad breakups, right? And how I just was devastated that a relationship didn't work out. Like, my heart was completely broken. Or I can think of relationships that I've been in and I'm like, God, please get me out of this situation. Or times when it could have been not so good for me, right? You know, and God always steps in, always, in everything. Sometimes it's where you were financially, right? Like, or how'd you get through school, or how'd you get through an injury, or you were about to lose your house, or, you know, you had $2. Everybody has stories about how they've had $2 to their name and God has worked it out. Like, we're like, woohoo, we got through that situation, and we just move on with life and forget that we were taken care of. The sermon that I watched this morning, you know, talked about, of course, how God takes care of the little bitty birds. And the birds, when you go outside in the mornings, they're always chirping. You know, they're not plantings. They're not like harvesting. They're not working. you know, like we are. They go find the worm and they eat, you know. The rain, the storm happens, they take shelter. God sees provision for them, and they chirp the next morning. Um, it's part of the good news. But I'm not gonna hold you too much longer. Fear of disappointment. I wrote these down, things down. Fear of disappointing who? When we have a fear of disappointment, we're fearful of disappointing our family and friends, our coworkers. That would go into disappointing your kids, your parents. It could be your cousins, somebody that you look up to, your aunties and uncles. We have a fear of disappointing them, of what they would say, because a lot of times we've been put in a box. You're supposed to do this. You're supposed to make all A's. You're supposed to graduate and go to college. You're supposed to get a degree. And after you get that degree, you're supposed to find somebody to marry. And then you're supposed to get married before you have sex. And then before you get married, once you get married, you have sex and you're supposed to have a baby, you know. Then once you have a baby, you're supposed to do, like, there's all these you're supposed to. You're supposed to dress your child up on Easter Sunday and give them Easter baskets. You're supposed to, there's all of these things that we do out of fear of disappointment. We don't want to disappoint the people in our lives. The good news is, with all of this disappointment that we fear that we're going to do, whether it's getting to the next level, whatever it is, the good news is that God knows who you are, the real you, without the Instagram filter that I have right now, which is fabulous. It's making my makeup look spot on and my skin looking so smooth. God knows the real you, and God knows the real you with all of your flaws, with like what you do in the dark. The thing about God is you can't hide that from him, which is so amazing because he loves you anyway. He loves you through all that. You're not perfect in the world sense. And at the end of the day, none of us are. And none of us are supposed to be. None of us are supposed to be. I like to say that we're all perfectly imperfect, right? Like, God always uses us because we are human. We do have different desires. We all have our own little pitfalls of things in life. So the disappointment that we feel based off the world and outwardly, even our own family and friends, that is hindering us from knowing our purpose and what God has for us to do. I put down, God knows, and therefore you are perfectly positioned for his work, right? Like, when you go back to the story of Jesus, and I'm not trying to be all religious here, like, even if you're not a religious person but you understand the story of Jesus, you'll know the type of people he walked with, the type of people he talked to, the type of people that he used were not perfect people by any means. You know, murderers, you know, stealers, like liars. I mean, he worked with everything that we would call our shun or push away from being. You know, we would disappoint our families if we were any of those things. God wasn't disappointed by these people. He used them. Only people the only person I wrote down that you should fear is God. You shouldn't fear what anybody else thinks of you. Nobody else. Not even your mama and your daddy. You know, not even your husband. You shouldn't really fear what anybody else thinks of you. But even he doesn't have a problem with who you are. He, I think what I'm trying to say here is that God is like your father, right? Your parents know exactly who you are. They know if you're like a rambunctious kid. They know if you're adventurous. They know if you like to try bad things. You know, they know that if you're like a daredevil, right? But they know, you know, they know if you were that child that snuck out, you know, or would cheat on a test, or would, you know, aggravate your brother or sister just to aggravate your brother or sister. Like they knew your parents knew all these things about you. And whether you get along with them or not in your adult life, you know, deep down, 9 times out of 10, you know that they loved you anyway. They love you anyway, right? God's like that. He's like, he's loving you anyway, and he's in your corner rooting for you, right? Like, he's in your corner saying, yeah, this is your prime example. You know, yeah, you can be an example. You can turn your life around. You can, you can decide to take a turn. Or you can just have a relationship with him, right? Like, it's not even that deep to where you have to be like this super holier than thou person. You could just explore, back to what I was saying at the beginning, you could just explore what it means to nurture your spirit, or to get to know your spirit, to get to know God. You could explore that inside you too. You know, it's like, I know I talk a lot about Jesus, but that's my background. That's what I grew up learning. And that's also how I stay connected spiritually, because I connect with Jesus that way. I gave my life to Christ. But that may not be everybody, and that's fine. But to completely neglect the fact that you have a spiritual side, let me tell you. I dated this guy, and he completely, it was a religion that I had never heard of. And I think I thought that was impossible, right? I really thought that was impossible. I'm like, if you are spiritual or go to church, right, you would be Christian, you know, you'd be Jewish, you'd be, you know, Protestant, you'd be, you know, and I know a lot of these overlap, but you'd be all of these type of denominations, and, you know, Catholic. I grew up with Catholic friends, and, you know, you have all these, you know, maybe you study Hinduism, maybe you're practicing Buddhist, maybe you're all these things, right? But I met a guy that I was like completely like unaware of this religion that he had. But I could at least, even though I didn't agree and it didn't work out, but I could at least appreciate that he was exploring the side of himself. Like, we're not just body, we're not just mind, but we're also spirit. And the reason why I talk about fear of disappointment, I mean, you could talk about fear of disappointment and it not even have a religious connection to it at all. Of course, because it's me talking, I have a religious connection in terms of where I get my confidence from. But I want to say this. The cool thing about, and you'll see me posting this, Abundant Life Nation and the movement to opening up our hearts, opening up dialogue and the conversation to people. The cool thing about what I've been learning on the coaching side is that there are steps and things that you can do, that anybody can do, religious or not, to help overcome the fear of disappointment. I'm so grateful that I have these steps and these methods and techniques that I've learned to help us overcome like the reasons why we shun from things, or we don't do things, or the reasons why we have a hard time getting over a hump, the reason why we have a hard time, I always say stepping out on faith, but going the distance. Like the reason why you might have a hard time losing those last 20 pounds, or those next 20 pounds. 20 pounds, I say that's not like a little, that's a lot for a lot of people. The reason why we have a hard time starting a business, buying a home, having a successful relationship, romantic relationship, marriage, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever. It's amazing to know that there are ways that you can really overcome your fears. There are ways that you can really get past disappointing people, or having that in the back of your mind, or having that as a thing or catalyst, or something that controls how you operate in your day-to-day life. Because there are so many things that happen to us when we're younger up until, now as an adult, that will keep you time and time again from being the ultimate you. So this challenge that I'm doing right now, you'll see me go live every day in April, is to get me to come out of my comfort zone and get me to talk about the things that kind of have been haunting me, right? Like I've had some fears, I've had some injuries, and been afraid to step back on stage, been afraid to open my own gym, been afraid to speak my mind, right? Because you have to be politically correct, and what would people say? Been afraid to talk to my own friends about Jesus. That's not like, so we're all hiding behind these veils, right? Because we're all, I don't want to offend the other people. Well, needless to say, I think our past president has thrown that out of the window. Nobody cares about offending anybody anymore, because we had a leader that would say anything that comes to mind, or tweet anything that comes to mind, and now everybody's on that bandwagon. Well, why not me? Why not me getting on that bandwagon and saying, I'm going to speak my mind in a way that is honest, that my goal is to definitely spread love and kindness and help people be productive in this life. So I've talked way longer than I had planned to. It's way later than I planned to get on this live, but I didn't want to mess up this challenge and skip one day. If I could get through it sick, yesterday and the day before was really bad, then I knew, like, today I'm feeling much better, that I could get through it tonight. So I'm going to post this on my YouTube channel. I'm also going to repost it on my Facebook, and I'll save it on my Instagram live to so that it'll be so people can replay. But if you're interested in, if you're looking for a coach to help you with confidence, to help you get out of your comfort zone, to help you push past some things that have been holding you back, send me a message, click my consultation link, and we can go from there. Also, if you're watching this from YouTube, Please click the like and subscribe. I'm trying to get my numbers up. YouTube is it's a tricky one for me that I'm trying to learn. And I also switched to another, I started another page, which maybe I shouldn't have done that, but I have. But I hope you guys had a wonderful, wonderful Easter and enjoyed some good food and time with your family and friends. So I'm signing off until tomorrow. Bye, you guys.